Hi, so I'm having a look at the new Ping iCROSSOVER iron that's just come out. I'm going to put it up against a 4-iron that I've got in my set and also a rescue club that I've got in my set. And I'll also put it up against a similarly lofted Ping i525, which is actually a 4-iron. The one I've got here is the number 3, which sits standard at 20 degrees loft. This club's designed for slightly better players, I would say. That's why they've gone with this I denomination rather than G. G tends to be the sort of more higher handicaps, more forgiving, that sort of thing. And the I range is all tends to be lower handicap, slightly better player clubs. So the iCROSSOVER is in that market. It does look really good. I mean, initial thoughts are, when I first saw it, I thought it looked really, really good. It's got quite a sort of thinnish top line for something that's supposedly so forgiving and so easy to hit. The blade length's quite big, but again, this is something which is a little bit out of the ordinary, that's designed to go quite far and be very forgiving. Overall opinion of it is it looks really good. I like the black finish. I like the back of it looks really smart. The hosel is movable, and that looks a little bit chunkier than a normal hosel does. But it does give you some options in terms of loft and lie and that sort of thing. Although I'll put the thing up on the screen, the diagram, showing you exactly all the different options you can get. When I first saw all the options, and when you take the hosel out, it can look confusing. But it actually says U for upright, F for flat, and then I think it's a 0 for standard. It's actually quite easy to work. And so I was just using all the standard settings, so I didn't get involved in putting it flat or upright. You would tend to do that if you used flat or upright clubs, just to get a bit closer to what you should use. I tested this on standard, sorry, +1.5 and -1.5. And I've also taken out in the course, and I'll show you the footage of that as well. So I've hit it off the grass and I've hit it off the tee outside. But today I just wanted to do a few shots in here. I've already done some stats on it and I will put those up on the screen, but I just want to hit a few and talk about how it feels, and you can see for yourself some of the shots that I'm hitting and that sort of thing. I think the biggest question is, do you need one of these? You know, if you've got a set of irons that goes up to, say, like I do, 4-iron, which nowadays is really strong. My 4-iron's 21.5 degrees, which is really quite strong. And then I jump up to a 20-degree rescue and then a 3-wood and a driver. So I'm thinking I don't actually have room for one of these. What this would have to come in at is swapping this out for my 4-iron. I don't think it would replace a rescue, because rescues are just that bit more forgiving. Right, so I've got it set at 20 degrees, Ping Tour 2.0, 85 stiff graphite. You can get this fitted with steel, although I'm not sure what it does to the weighting. They seemed a bit hesitant when I talked to them about ordering it with steel and said, oh, we really only fit this with graphite. But I think you can get one. I have a feeling that possibly the whole thing might feel a bit heavy if you put a steel shaft in it. That was a good strike. So it's gone total distance 235, 15 degrees launch, 3,500 spin, and the carry was 215, I think. Yeah, 215. So that is further than I would hit my 4-iron. If I just hit my 4-iron now, decent strike as well. That's incredible, 2 decent strikes in a row. No editing. 223 total, 203 carry. So, I mean, that's a good 4-iron for me. That's what I would expect, a 220 if I hit it properly. So that club would go further. Now, if you look at the makeup of the club, I've got 1.5 degrees less loft on my 4-iron, and it's a little bit shorter. So that should in theory go further. So I might have too much of a gap between my 5-iron and this. So I'm not totally sure whether it would fit into my bag at the moment, but I'll hit a few more and just see what sort of forgiveness I get as well. That was a little bit low in the face, and it's still gone further than my 4-iron. 230, 209 carry. Decent strike again. Don't know what's gone wrong today. 233, 213 carry. Well, it's quite consistent at that. I think if I absolutely belt it or went off a tee, you could maybe get another few yards out of it. In fact, I did when I was thrashing away with this earlier when I first came in. I got a 249 out of it. So I'll try and put a little bit more on this one just to see if I was going for ultimate distance. Very interesting. A little bit more, 239. To be honest, I wouldn't hit it like that. You know, the first few swings were more how I would hit it, so I'd be happy with 235 off this. And it could be a good tee shot club as well. I mean, the only thing, I find rescues for me at 20 degrees don't go too high. But if I go down below that with a rescue club, so to 22 degrees or something like that, 24 degrees, they just shoot up in the air, especially if I'm going into the wind, it just becomes unworkable. We play out here in the East Links in a lot of windy conditions, and if I got a par 3 and I'm trying to hit something off a tee into the wind, I have 4 rescue, it just balloons up in the air, can't keep it down. So something like this or an iron would appeal to me from that point of view, because it's going to go a little bit lower. Turn this down to minus 1.5 and just see what we get as well. So you change it just with a normal key. Didn't actually come with one, believe it or not. And then it's quite easy to change it, as I say. I mean, not so much in this light maybe, but if I go, so minus 1.5, so what's that to get it to 18.5. Now, one thing that happens is the hosel position changes a little bit to allow for this loft. Now, I was a little bit worried when I saw this that it might look odd and a little bit ugly, but it doesn't actually. It actually looks quite usable still. I mean, it's noticeable that it's got something happen to it, that it's slightly different looking than it was when it's standard, but I wouldn't say you couldn't use it. And I think that for higher loft and for lower loft, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. Some people might not like it, but I don't think it's that bad. I don't think it's a deal breaker. So this is lower, should go lower. I certainly did go lower, and I did hit that a little bit thin, so it wasn't perfectly hit, and you can see that by the distance, 226, 204. But this will be interesting to see if I get the same sort of figures as I did the first time. Well, that was a good strike. And so it's gone 242. What I found in my little orange book when I did it the last time was that the standard loft, the total distance for the standard loft was 230, plus 1.5 degrees I got 234, and minus 1 degree I got 234. So that was an average over quite a few shots. I think possibly what happens is that when you hit a lot of these, you'll hit some bad strikes, some good strikes, and it sort of evens out. But in actual fact, changing the loft for me didn't change ultimately a lot of the distance, but it did affect the spin rate and the height that the ball went. So if you want to hit it lower or higher a certain distance, then I think this club can do that, because the backspin for the standard one, I was getting 2754. The backspin for the 1 plus 1.5 degrees loft was 3678, so quite a lot more. And then for the minus 1 degree, I was getting 2624. Okay, it wasn't a lot different to the standard, but it was going down. And the height, peak height was 19 for the minus 1, 30 for plus 1.5, and 21 for standard. So that was all tying in with normal flight, higher when you put the loft up and lower when you put the loft down. So carry 206 for standard, 214 for plus 1.5, 208 for lower. So I wasn't seeing like a massive difference when you hit the lower one for it going further. I wasn't seeing a big loss when I put more loft on it and hit it higher. That's just my own observations. I know that's gone 242, but I did actually manage to hit into the 240s even on the standard loft. So I think it's a lot to do with how you strike it. So this is still minus 1.5. In terms of feel, it feels quite hard, but not bad hard. I mean, that wasn't a great shot. I've gone 204, but de-lofted there. Didn't hit that particularly well. But it does feel quite forgiving. It feels, as I say, reasonably hard. It's not a forged face or anything like that. So it's a bit of a clattery noise, but it's not, I wouldn't say it's really, really bad. When I was out in the course, I didn't feel like it was a bad noise it was making or anything else. It feels possibly a bit harsher in here. So one more with the lower loft. Wee bit thin. 220 on a sort of thin strike. So that's pretty forgiving, really. It is forgiving. I do sort of feel like it does help you, and I kind of felt like that out on the course as well. So we'll put it up plus 1.5. Should go higher again. The hosel looks slightly different, but it doesn't look bad. I was a bit worried that was going to be, oh yeah, you can adjust it, but you wouldn't want to adjust it because it looks horrible. Well, it doesn't. It looks fine, in my opinion. It wasn't a good strike again. 220, pretty good for not hitting it properly. Thin, again high for catching it. Thin, really noticeably higher. And 223. So this is what I mean by it sort of evening out. It'd be interesting if I really flush one, I can get anywhere near 240 even with more loft on it. That was decent, but I don't know if it'll be, I wouldn't describe it as flushed. 232, was it 212 carry? So again, see, that's getting up just where it was when it was standard. I was quite happy with 232. I think I got more of that one, a wee bit less now. Maybe won't probably go as far because I've come out there a bit quicker. 227. Yeah, see, 239. That was a better strike, but again, higher, much higher. You know, I managed the 242 with the low. I was getting like into the mid 230s with standard. Managed the 239 with plus loft on it. So I think again, it's kind of doing what I said the first time, that yeah, it'll go higher, lower, or mid, but it kind of evens out. It doesn't seem to go massively shorter or longer when you do that. Just varies the angle of descent, which is really useful, to be honest, because you know it can be tailored to suit a lot of people, and also tailored to different golf courses and things like that. If you've got a lot of greens where you need to bring it in high over things, then fine, have it on the plus loft. Whereas if you're playing linksy courses where you want to keep it low, blowing a gale every time you go out, have it on the minus setting. The other thing I wanted to do before show you the bit about me out in the course is just put it up against a Ping i525 4-iron, because a lot of people will be making the decision. They might have a set of i525s and they think, oh, shall I get rid of the 4-iron and get one of these and put that in the bag? So go 5 and then iCROSSOVER 4, or maybe even a 3. And the reason I say maybe even a 3 is because this is, well, I've got this set at moment 21.5. This 4-iron has been power spec, so it's got minus 1.5 off the standard, so it's 19.5, which is really strong. We could leave this 21.5 and give the Ping i525 a little chance because it's a shorter shaft and it shouldn't go as far because it's not as long a shaft. And I'll hit a few with the i525 4-iron and see sort of what difference we get. The i525, when I put those down together, there isn't a huge amount of difference in the top line, to be honest. It maybe looks a little bit chunkier and bigger, the iCROSSOVER, but you know what, it's not miles out, it's not miles away, and the blade length's pretty similar, it's almost the same length. Power spec i525, 19.5 loft. Actually, when I see that just on its own, not next to the iCROSSOVER, it's noticeable that the i525 does look a little bit thinner. So if you're not a great long iron player, I think the slightly bigger head, chunkier, is going to look a little bit more like you've got a bit of a chance to hit it. This looks a little bit severe, especially, I don't know whether it being 19.5 and being cranked forward, it actually looks slightly more scary. Wasn't absolutely perfect, but it's pretty good. I got 229 out of that, 208 carry. Not far off it, but then, you know, put that up against the slightly more lofted. So this is 21.5 and that was 19.5. I didn't even hit that as well. That wasn't as good a strike. So if that goes the same distance, I'll be impressed. 217. That was a good strike. Probably a better strike than I hit with the i525. Oh, a bit hooky. 230. It's up to you. I mean, there isn't a lot of difference other than I think this is more forgiving. It depends what loft you get it in and what you want it to do. 227 again. Ping i525 4-iron. It does feel a little bit less forgiving than that. It feels meatier. It feels like it's going to help you a little bit more. Still got 220 out. That was a little bit thin. That is powerful. Like strong lofted 19.5 is going to go quite far. But this thing just feels like it's going to let you away with a bit more. And when you get it out the middle like that, it does feel really powerful, like it's going really well. 223 again, so got to remember this has got more loft on it than that at the moment. As I mentioned earlier, I took it out in the course and these were the results out in the course. Okay, so here I am at the par 5 6 holes at North Berwick East Links, hitting off the tee with my rescue club first of all, just to see how it goes. So it's a Stealth, TaylorMade Stealth Plus. Now we're on to the crossover. You might be able to hear the slight difference in sound, a wee bit higher pitch, the crossover. It was a funny batch. I hit some of them good, some of them bad. This was the batch. Now I hit the yellow balls are the crossover, and I had the shortest of those was 54 yards short of the rescue, and then 49 and 43 short. The longest yellow was 27 yards short of the rescue. 2 of the 6 crossovers were in the fairway, and 3 of the 6 rescue club shots were in the fairway. And 4 of the right rescue balls were within 9 yards total distance of each other. Not 9 yards in a circle, I'm not that good. But they were 9 yards within total distance. So the strike was better on the rescues. They were just more forgiving all round off the tee, the rescue, and it went further as well. So as for hitting off the tee, I still think rescue is slightly more forgiving than the iron crossover type club that I've hit here. Possibly if you're trying to hit it lower, the iron might be better, but I still find that the rescue is best off the tee. And then I went up and I hit shots from 217 yards into a cold wind, uphill slightly. Thought I might get there, hit my own 4-iron against the crossover, and it was noticeable how much better the strike was on the crossover. I hit 3 of the 4-irons fat. You probably can't tell that there, but I did, and they were 4 of my own irons short, and they were short of the crossovers. Every single one of the crossovers were hit pretty well in terms of strike and got a lot further in general than the 4-iron did, although none of them made the green. So yeah, off the ground the feeling was that the iCROSSOVER was much better than a standard 4-iron, but I still don't think it would beat a rescue off the ground for forgiveness, because you've got that bigger sole that's not going to dig in again, and you've got the more forgiveness. So out in the course it was a clear winner for me. This rescue club that I've got is the TaylorMade Stealth Plus, which is adjustable. I've got it set 19.5, 3 rescue, so it was similar loft to that Ping club and to the iCROSSOVER, and the same length of shaft. So I thought it was a fair fight, but in terms of forgiveness and consistency, it wasn't really a fair fight. The rescue was still way more consistent for me, and the only reason you wouldn't maybe go for one of these is a kind of slightly better player's lower hitting rescue and a smaller head. It's not just an average rescue, but for me this is still way more forgiving. Didn't hit that brilliantly, and it's on 229. That was a better strike. So easily into the 240s there. Harry was 223. What I noticed was just how more similar these were. You know, when you don't hit the iron properly, even though it's quite a forgiving iron, it does fall out there a wee bit quicker and not help you out quite as much as this does. Again, this is another level of forgiveness. And if you can use these and get on with these and they don't go too high, then I think still rescue is the answer. There's a bit offline, but it's a 248 and a 227. I think for me, this doesn't fit really into my set. I think the only way it might, and I think a good way to use one of these would be if you just look down at the i525, for instance, or your 4-iron in your set, and think, I don't really like using this, it seems a little bit too severe, then something like that in a 4-iron loft might well be the answer. And if you want an iron that does 3-iron length or closer to rescue, then again, this would be better than just the 3-iron in the set. To be honest, not a lot of people use anymore anyway. So I would recommend one of these. Wouldn't go swapping this for a rescue. I think rescues are just that bit more forgiving, but I would swap it for a standard 4-iron in a set quite readily. As long as you get the right loft that does that for you and you set it to what you want, this club will be more forgiving in general than the standard 4-iron in the set. So in terms of off the tee, I still think rescue is actually more forgiving, and off the fairway, still the fairway the rescue will let you a wee bit more away with the strike, even though this is a bit better on the strike, and I did find that in my own 4-iron out in the course. The rescue again is just that little bit more forgiving. But yes, I think if you find you've got the right gap in your set, then yes, this is a very good option. So I hope that was useful. If you've got any questions, please put them in the comments and I'll get back to you. And if you haven't subscribed already, that would be great if you could subscribe. And I'll see you in the next one.